Welcome to the Homestretch Sample Book Assignment 7, Sample 31, Buttons and Buttonholes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're over here at the iron to attach our fusible interfacing. So this is interfacing. Interfacing comes in a lot of different weights, types. There's fusible, non-fusible, water-soluble, like there's all sorts of different ones. We have a fusible. Some of you might have black and some of you might have white. They're both the same. What fusible is, if you see on one side, there's these are essentially like glue dots. So we're melting it to permanently fuse it to one side of our fabric. So we are going to be making faux shirt fronts for our buttons and buttonholes. So to help give that some stability, we are going to attach fusible interfacing to our facings. And so it's going to go like this. So the glue, like the side that has texture, is going to touch the fabric. Like so. And if we notice, I cut these a little bit smaller on all the sides than my facing. So I cut these like this was a 1/2 inch shorter on each side. So this was 2.5 by 7.5 for these. So because if you get it just to the edge, you can't, like if it's the exact same size, you can get a little bit over, because you could end up, if you have any of this touching over here, it will fuse it to your ironing board cover, or it'll put glue on your iron. Like that's what a lot of that is glue. And so that's why you also want to make sure the textured side is down. So if you follow the technical directions, you're supposed to take a damp pressing cloth, because that steam is one of those things that activates it. But you can also, like with this, I filled it with iron. I filled the iron with water, and it's on my steam setting. So my steam is all the way up. And then just to kind of get, like, protect both that and the iron, I'm going to put just a scrap piece of muslin down. So when you're attaching your fusible interfacing, you want to hold it in place. You're not going to move it around, because you're getting that to melt and then cool down. So I'm going to line this up like so. And I'm just going to count to 15 in my head. And I'm applying a little bit of pressure, and we're kind of like keeping it in the same spot. Okay. And then I'm going to go to another spot that I haven't, and we're going to do the same thing. Make sure we're kind of like tipping that all the way up, the iron all the way up in between, so it resets the automatic shut off. I think this might be missing just a little bit here. And then to kind of like smooth it out, I just give it a quick kind of like pass. And then I don't like to check it immediately after I do it, because if it's still hot, like which it is, the glue could still be wet. And so me actually like pulling on it to check on it could actually separate my glue. And once we've melted the glue, like if there's just now half glue on the fabric and on the interfacing, then I just have to cut all new fabric and interfacing. So while I'm letting that cool down for just a second, I'm going to start my other one. So once again, I have my textured side face down where that glue is. It's making sure it's not over the edge of the fabric. I've put a scrap piece on. And then when I take this, I'm putting it directly down there, applying pressure, and holding for about 15 seconds or so. Okay, and see, that's what I was talking about with that lift up. And then we're gonna come and get that other side. And then I think I messed up right here, so I'll just here. And then just smooth out any impressions I may have made. Just do that real quick. So, when we now take this, we notice it is fused, like it's not falling. So I don't try to pry it off. What I mainly do is I run my hand along the edges and I see if there's any spots like where my finger is kind of going in between them. And then you can also feel here and see if there's any, especially like in places where there's bigger, like if you have a huge piece of interfacing, like a whole like bodice front, see if there's any big kind of like pockets. Looks nice and fused. So I like to let it completely cool down laying flat, because depending on the type of interfacing you have, if you end up, let's say like how I have these over here chilling on top of this, some of these interfacings where that glue is, if I let it dry like that, it actually holds that shape. So I like to let them cool down flat. So you can just take these and like put them on like your sewing desk or anywhere else where it's flat for them to finish cooling. And that is how you apply the interfacing for this first step of our buttons and buttonholes. So I will see you over at the machine as we make our shirt fronts.